The philosopher and poet Prince Roger Nelson said there is joy in repetition. Let's see if he's right. So I am joined by our two Steves, our Steve sandwich. I guess above we have Steve Atkinson, and then directly beneath, very much festooned in his festive Vikings gear, we have our own trademark-free Captain Steve Rogers. Good to see you both.
Good to see you.
And directly beneath me, we have my man. We may or be, no, we have. We've been joined by the babyface assassin himself as well. There he is. Ta-da! The gang is indeed.
There he is.
Yes. So this is the good stuff. This is why I lift all them weights, right? This is why you do all that stuff. Oh my gosh, all those protein shakes, all that is about this right here. So I'm going to start with Steve Atkinson. Steve, strongest impressions, the takeaways, the things that will stay with you from the week that was.
So the biggest takeaways from week 4 was that Aaron Rodgers doesn't want to be in Green Bay. He looks uninterested. He looks like the 2019 version of Tom Brady, his last year in New England, and the 2022 version of Tom Brady with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He'd rather do anything else than play football. The second point is people need to realize that there will never be another Tom Brady. I saw countless times on Facebook and Twitter on Sunday that Zappe just took Mac Jones's job. Are you serious? His first touchdown pass to Devontae Parker was a delay of game penalty that wasn't even called. He had the ball on the 50-yard line in overtime and couldn't pass the ball 20 yards. He set up the game-winning field goal. Mac Jones gets you those 20 yards, and you pulled the upset in Green Bay. No, Mac Jones did not get Drew Bledsoe. And finally, there's no moral victories. For the past 20 years, the city of Boston's won 12 championships. Why are we throwing parades about moral victories because the Patriots lost to Green Bay in overtime? Doesn't make any sense. They made some great plays on defense. Matthew Judon was the MVP of the game, but they still lost the game, and the Patriots are 1-3 instead of 2-2.
Yes, and on that very much unhappy note, I am going to make my way down to, I'm going to break up the Steve sandwiches now, make my way down diagonally to my man. What are your strongest impressions from the week that was?
Okay, I'm going to speak first and foremost about the concussions. I know we usually speak about players and things of that nature, but I believe that the NFL really needs to make a change as far as its procedures when it comes to players with concussions. You know, the NFL has cameras everywhere around the stadium. It picks up, all types of things. So, I feel that the NFL, should, when they see a player go down, or quarterback or anybody go down like that, they get up wobbly like that, noodle leg, they should automatically be sacked for the rest of the game until further evaluation if the NFL really cares about the safety of the players. The second takeaway is the Green Bay Packers. They're 3-1 right now. They're on their way to London, or they're already to face the Giants this weekend. For the Packers to have won the games that they have won already, when they only get going, they get clicking, and everything starts coming together, that's going to be one of the most dangerous teams in the NFL. And I definitely wouldn't be surprised if they possibly made it all the way to the Super Bowl with that team, that defense, and with that two-headed run game that they have with A.J. Dillon and Adam Jones. Aaron Jones. I said Adam. Aaron Jones. Shout out to Pac-Man, though.
Yeah.
The third thing I'm taking away is the Ravens defense. The Ravens defense isn't the same as once what it was. those guys and got older. Marcus Peterson, those other guys. Kyle Fuller went down this year with the injury, I believe, in week 1 or the last game of the preseason. That Baltimore Ravens defense haven't been looking the same as the blitzes and everything like that. They're like in the bottom half of the league when they're blitzing, so the blitzes is getting picked up and they're getting picked off for deep yards. So those are my takeaways from week 4 in the NFL.
Got it. Okay. I will move now to, the other half of the Steve sandwich. What are your strongest impressions of the week that was?
All right. So my biggest takeaways are the Kansas City Chiefs. I think that people have been writing them off already, and they decided to get their Dr. Dre on and remind everyone, if they forgot, just who they were. And Patrick Mahomes is just a video game in real life in person. What he does is unreal and just a joke. And again, anyone who wants to talk about who the greatest quarterback is, he just goes down and puts on a show like that against one of the top defenses, Tampa Bay, and shreds them to pieces. So there's that. Eagles and Jalen Hurts also continue to be impressive, and they're flying high, unbeaten, 4-0, looking like the clear best team in the NFC. Sneakily, maybe the Cowboys might be the second best team, right in their same division.
Okay.
And then I also have to give a shout out to my home squad going over to London and managing to, again, figure out a way to come up with a victory within the clause of defeat. So it's not pretty, it's not good, it's not great. We're not blowing anybody away. It's not the St. Louis Rams turf show, but we are getting the job done, and we are not crumbling in times of pressure. We are finding ways to rise above it. So I look at that as a positive, and good luck to Green Bay trying to catch up to us as we go into a week at home division matchup against Chicago Bears to give us 3-0 division, and good luck to that because we beat you week 1. Green Bay is going nowhere, and here's a question. What happens if they don't gel together that everyone just assumes is already going to happen? It hasn't happened yet. We're 4 weeks in. Let me in.
All right. Well, since we have one person who's trending slightly negative towards the end of their comments, let's continue along that theme with the babyface assassin himself, Brock Vieira.
Well, first, I want to say Steve Rogers' 3rd week with a fire fit. Well done. Love the outfit. Love what's going on in the room. But my takeaways, one, the Eagles are the clear favorite in the NFC. They're just dominant both sides of the ball. They have great depth on the offensive and defensive line. And really, they just have playmakers all over the field. The Rams, focusing more on cosmetic than foundation, has really hurt them. Not addressing Andrew Whitworth by going with Joe Noteboom. Spending high money on guys like Bobby Wagner and Allen Robinson has really hurt them, and they're in a world of hurt right now when they should be looking to repeat as the Super Bowl champions. But in the spirit of negativity, my biggest takeaway is that it's never too early to fire people. And that's what we as the NFL fans need to vouch for. First up on the list is the Indianapolis Colts. You gotta fire Chris Ballard and Frank Reich. Chris Ballard has committed quarterback malpractice for the past 3 years from the people he's just shoving on that field. He has not established a really good wide receiver core. He has some good pieces. There's no true number 1 wide receiver. The offensive line looks like trash. Frank Reich looks like a recently divorced dad with 2 kids that he clearly cannot afford child support for. I mean, my goodness, that man looks like he needs professional help. Get those gentlemen out of the NFL for now. They need the break. Also, Pittsburgh, one of my man's favorite team, and also Bill Kelly's favorite team, Matt Canada. You gotta fire him too. That offense has looked horrible. No matter who put in Pickett or Trubisky, it's just not working out. It hasn't been working out for a long time. He left Maryland, and then Maryland got better. That should have been clue number 1. So Matt Canada needs to go. Matt Rule. I don't really need to touch on that anymore. He also needs to be fired. Let's see, who else is on the chopping block? Lovie Smith. Why not? Just
Wait a minute, time out. Hold on.
Lovey?
What I say? I'm not even done. I got Oh, Dennis Allen needs to go. Todd Bowles.
Did he even technically interview for that job? I mean, did he even want the
Right.
job?
Todd
Wait a
Bowles-
minute, he got that job by
Bowles-
default.
Todd Bowles might not interview. She needs to do his exit interview.
Oh my God. Woo.
He needs to get out of Tampa Bay. Dennis Allen's clearly not working out in New Orleans. I'm sorry, like these franchises are a lot better than they are. And it's clear that it's just not they're just not a fix away or a player away and things like that. It's sometimes deep inside. Josh McDaniels, my goodness,
Oh, Las Vegas.
that
I'll
should
take him
never
back to
happen.
New England.
Yeah.
Thanks.
You know what? I'm feeling real great today. Throw Nathaniel Hackett in there too, just to make it fun. Like, I'm sorry, these gentlemen have not been performing at the standard. The teams have not been performing at the standard, and it's clear who the issue is. It's them. And when you have men that are jockeying for their financial futures, you need other men to be able to put them in positions to succeed. And these men are clearly not doing that. It's time to move on. There's an NFL analyst job for various networks available for these gentlemen, and it's time to get started on your broadcasting careers.
So, much like the bubonic plague made its way through the fields of France in the 14th century, we have young Brock Vieira set loose to just ravage the coaching ranks of the NFL. First of all, my heartiest apologies to those families who will be uprooted. Children who will have to make new best friends in new towns, realtors who will be having to try to sell probably mini mansions, I'm guessing, on a very
40s, yeah.
right in what is now a cooling off housing market. So somebody might have to sell at a loss. All these things, these domino effects, set loose by one young
Michael
Brock
Jordan's
Vieira.
place will still be available in the few years.
Listen, all right, these coaches make a lot of money. They can rent the properties, they can afford the therapy, and they can afford to buy their kids' friends. All right, but they're not buying wins, and that's the issue.
You know what? I'm going to be honest, gentlemen. I'm going to be honest with you. You've got a tough hill to climb. Brock has pulled out to a pretty. Woo! I mean, he's like the Eagles right now. He's shooting and he's not missing.
He's on fire right now.
My God!
Here's what happened. All right, I didn't think like this today, and then Bill woke me up from my nap, and now I'm all grumpy, and now I'm ready to count
Didn't get to dinner yet.
I did not get. Okay, Friday dinner is my favorite dinner because it's the start of the weekend. And guess what? I haven't got to eat it yet, which I don't blame anybody here for. But I have an appetite, and firing people fills it temporarily. So I'm sorry. Like, I know I keep talking about firing people, but you're not good. Listen, we all saw what we saw on the football field, right? Can anyone dispute that was complete trash?
I mean, Derek Carr almost had to be the coach at some points last year, along with the starting quarterback, and they actually almost made the playoffs. Are they better off with Derek Carr as the coach?
I mean, they're better off with Rich Bisaccia as the coach. Like, no, let's get the guy that flamed out after barely 2 seasons in Denver and then became an assistant.
Is Josh McDaniels the reason why Devontae Adams doesn't work all of a sudden? He's the best wide receiver in the NFL, and now he's nothing.
Josh McDaniels is a clown. All right, and I think we as a society need to start talking about that. Not only is this a man who backs out of his commitment with the Colts, this is a dude that had a phenomenal roster in Denver, got up to a great start, and then pooped the bed.
And then,
yeah, like if we go back to that year, they were like 6-0 at one point, and then they lost the division. Like, you're not a good coach if you do that. And then years later, we think that he's this reinvented person. They bring in Devontae Adams. Darren Waller has been playing up to par either, but he is coming off an injury. But you look at the Raiders team last year, how close they were, how they gelled in the post-Gruden era with Rich Bisaccia. What does McDaniels do? He comes in, he removes that entire staff. Bisaccia, gone. Cole, the offensive coordinator, gone. Gus Bradley, defensive coordinator, gone. He brings in his own staff, and what happens? They play like trash. Like, at the end of the day, you gotta look at yourself and be like, dang, maybe that this is my fault. Maybe the reason the offense isn't running well is because I don't run the ball in overtime when Rich Bisaccia would. Maybe the reason the offense is bad is because I don't design plays to put my players in the best position. Maybe the offense is bad because after Hunter Renfrow fumbles, I go back to him after 2 plays. Like that's coaching. So to me, maybe they are better off with Derek Carr calling the plays because clearly it's not working with Josh Daniels.
I mean, on paper, you have Darren Waller, Hunter Renfrow, and Devontae Adams. That should be a nightmare trio in the passing game in any team in the league. And yet, they're in the bottom of every category offensively. They're 1-4 on a gift win. I mean,
you hit it,
with another coach who doesn't know what he's doing, giving games away.
Yeah, exactly. You hit it right on the head. Quite frankly, the Chargers game was acceptable. The Cardinals game isn't. The Tennessee Titans game wasn't. It's almost flabbergasting when you look at the Raiders. This is a team that's a dark horse to win the division, and now they're completely out of the playoffs. I'm not saying they're going to miss the playoffs. It's still a young season, but when you look at where they were supposed, even this team up here has been very disappointing. I'm not calling for heads yet, but wait a couple weeks and we might see. But
2 more losses, it'll change your tune. Yeah.
We lose to Cleveland, and we lose to Cleveland this Sunday. It's red alert.
Oh, Cleveland! Ooh, yee.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But you just look at the people that you have and what they clearly didn't address in the offseason, which is understandable because there are so many things to address. But when you build a team, you have to make sure your offensive line is solid. You can't pass the ball to anybody if you don't have time. They barely addressed that. Only got in Dylan Parham as the major fix, while also cutting Alex Leatherwood, who clearly was at the par. But still, that's a piece that you let go. And then you also look on the defense side of the ball. They did nothing to address the secondary after Casey Hayward left. Stephon Gilmore was on the market, but he went to Indianapolis. James Bradbury was on the market. He went to Philadelphia. He never went and got a true quarterback one. And you already have a safety in Jonathan Abrams that you're already done with. And you're looking at the defense, laying up points, and you're looking dumbfounded. Like, oh, what's going on? It's you. It's you not addressing these issues. And it's the chickens coming home to roost. And that's what it is for most of these coaches. It's the thing that they set in motion not working out, and the results are coming home to roost. And the results are very, very poor.
And you know what else that proves the result of? That coaching tree isn't doing anything. In
Bill Belichick's coaching tree blows.
Matt Patricia,
Judge,
Josh McDaniels,
it all sucks. You know what they think? They
Mike
think
Vrabel's
that
the most
they're
successful
gonna
thing
leave
out of
New
that
England,
tree, right?
Go to their new team and win Super Bowls. No, it's the quarterback. You've got to have that quarterback, right?
Yep.
All of a sudden, you don't have Tom Brady, and now you suck. So see what happens. So it's crazy.
It wasn't Bill. It was Tom.
It was Tom, all the way. Yep.
John, just real quick. That's one of the things that I dislike about great superstars and great coaching is that people always want to say the superstars are great because of the coaches. Like everyone's thinking, oh, Bill Belichick coaching tree. They had the greatest quarterback of all time on the right, like the gentleman said. You look at Charlie Weiss, fail. Romeo Crennel, fail. Joe Judge, fail. Josh McDaniels, fail. Brian Flores, fail. Matt Patricia, fail. Fail. All across the board. And then everyone, I don't know what's going to happen. We don't have Tom Brady. Everyone likes to talk about Emmitt Smith. Oh, Emmitt Smith is only great because he had Darryl Johnson as fullback. Emmitt Smith is only great because he had that great offensive line. Look at his college tape. Look where Florida was before he went there. Look at where Florida was after he left. Look at his high school tape. Emmitt Smith is great because he's Emmitt Smith, not because we somehow conjured something in our minds that made him great. And that's the thing that I don't like is people give credit where credit isn't due, and that's why you get so many coaches in situations where they shouldn't be, and so many coaches who should have head coaching jobs, like my guys, Pep Hamilton, that don't because maybe you didn't have the right, you weren't part of the right coaching tree. Makes no sense, and it's just it's frustrating at times with that.
I will say this. I definitely agree with this. With Matt Canada definitely needs to be fired. I totally agree with that. He should have never been hired. I don't understand why Pittsburgh ever hired him. However, Mike Tomlin needs to make the next step to make this transition post Big Ben era and fire Matt Canada and move on with the Nets.
I agree.
Okay. So we spent a little more time on that segment than I originally anticipated. odd. I will have to compress a few things to make up for the fact that but I enjoyed the utter negafest, set off, of course, by once again my friend and partner, Mr. Brock Vieira, who turned everybody into just a raving beast calling for people's heads. That was really something to see. Well done, Brock. You have a natural leadership, particularly to lead people, of course, to grab their pitchforks and their flaming torches. So that brings us to oh boy. Okay, so let's spin it around and be positive. The most impressive things, the things that were the most impressive. I'll stick with you, Mello, my man. What was the most impressive thing you saw in the week that was?
The week that was week 4, the most impressive, I'm going to start off with Geno Smith. Geno Smith, he's making Pete Carroll look good, and that Seattle staff, like, they made the best decision ever, letting Russ go, letting him walk. Geno threw for 320 yards. He completed 76% of his passes. He had 3 total TDs, 2 passing TDs, and 1 rushing TD. So Geno's been looking like Geno when he first came into the league, and it's good for him. I love it for his story. And the main thing is he got the win as well. The other player that impressed me the most was Pat Mahomes, Pat Magic. Like Steve said, people Kansas City is playing like people act like they forgot about him. Pat Mahomes has Pat Mahomes magic. I love it. I've heard other analysts say they don't like some of the throws that Pat Mahomes make, but I've seen every quarterback that I've watched, make throws that he shouldn't have made. However, with the bad, if people want to say that Pat Mahomes do, there's so much good, like we saw, especially with that spin 360 touchdown pass in that last game. And then the main thing is he got the win over Tom Brady, and that Bucs defense. So we definitely have to give a lot of respect to Pat Mahomes and that win. The other player I'm going to go with is George Pickens. I'm going to go to Pittsburgh and go with George Pickens and Kenny Pickett together. This was George Pickens' best game of his career and of this season. He had 7 catches for 116 yards. Kenny Pickett came into the game and gave the Pittsburgh Steelers life offense. We saw, a rejuvenated offensive line that has been getting better, along as the season has went along. But we just saw the body energy that Kenny Pickett brought up out of everybody. He had 120 yards, 2 rushing TDs, and yes, he did have 3 interceptions. And those interceptions did hit the receiver's hands, but that's a different conversation for a different time. And then I'm going to go with some defense. I'm going to go with the Bills safety, Jordan Poyer. He has 6 tackles, and he was very key and instrumental for that Bills defense, shutting down Baltimore to come back to get the game. He also had 6 passes that he deflected and 2 big INTs.
Yeah, well, let's see. I will now go to Steve. Which Steve? I will go to our captain, our duty-free captain, Mr. Steve Rogers.
All right, real quick before I get to the players that impressed me. Hey, Mello, I got a freebie for you. You got a fan club going yet for the Pick Crew? And you got 2 guys with Pick in their name. I just put that out there. Pick Crew.
Hey.
Players that impressed me. I watched usually with my jaw on the floor of the Patrick Mahomes game, doing just things ridiculously against the Tampa Bay defense you're just not supposed to do. And then he was just making himself look like a human Madden game in live form. PlayStation 5, 7, I don't know what else you want to call it. I guess I looked up the combo button. That's XO triangle R1 for that move. If you want to play it on Madden.
Excellent.
And then I'm going to also cheat and go give a shout out for players that impressed me to the entire San Francisco defense that demolished the Super Bowl reigning champions, who are not looking like reigning champions. They're looking like reigning hangovers. And they get to find out next week how good Cowboys defense is, who also impressed me. Michael Parsons is making a run at trying to be one of the few ever defensive MVPs. He's looking like, I don't know, Ray Lewis, Brian Urlacher, or maybe even shades of Lawrence Taylor. He is everywhere. He's in the passing game. He's sacking the quarterback. He's disrupting the running game. He's anywhere you want him to be if you're a defensive coach or anything. So Micah Parsons impressed me. Cowboys defense impressed me, and so did the San Francisco defense. Oh, and shout out to special teams player of the week, my kicker, going 5 for 5 on field goals.
Yes. And that brings us now to one Brock Vieira to take this. No, it doesn't. Wait, Steve Atkinson. That brings us to Steve Atkinson to take this home, Steve. Or
I'm going to choose, again, like everyone else, Patrick Mahomes. I think he's the greatest quarterback in the game right now. He's proven that he doesn't need Tyreek Hill to, make plays. He finds other guys, and he's absolutely playing at the elite level. He's already thrown for 11 touchdowns, 1,106 yards so far this year. And the second player was Ramondre Stevenson for the Patriots. I think he really ran the ball well when Bailey Zappi was the quarterback in that game against the Packers. He ran for 66 yards on 14 carries. In the second half, I think in the first drive of the second half, they ran like 60 yards downfield, and Stevenson was on all of those. So I'm going to say Stevenson and Mahomes.
Okay. Now I can go to my friendly companion, Brock Vieira. Take it home.
Yeah, one shout out to Mr. Joseph, the kicker. Steve and I played fantasy last week. Well, I got cooked. There's no way of putting it. He absolutely smoked me. And part of the reason why is because Joseph went on, had 18 points, I think. +5 on field goals, like 2 or 2 on extra point. I forgot what it was. Ridiculous. Well done to you, Steve. But the players that impressed me the most was Jamar Sayer. This is a guy coming out of Georgia who played left tackle. We all thought that he was going to transition to guard. And guard is probably his best position. Had his first ever NFL start at tackle and played phenomenally. 0 sacks, 0 pressures. Well done to a guy for a position we all thought he couldn't play at pros. Looking forward to see how he develops with that Chargers offensive line. Talanoa Hufanga, San Francisco 49ers. Going with what Melo said, that Niners defense was fire. Hufanga, 4 tackles, 3 solos, and a game-sealing pick 6. Everyone talks about he looks like Troy Polamalu because of his Polynesian heritage, because he's a safety with the UFC. In the modern game, he looks more like Derwin James, in my opinion, in his versatility. He can play all over the field. He can play safety, he can play linebacker, he can play cornerback, nickelback, even can be edge rusher. Start to watch. Well done to him. Really excited to see where he goes in his future. Jared Goff. That's a quarterback we don't talk enough about.
Mm-hmm.
This season, the guy that scored for 11 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. The guy who put up 35 against the Eagles, 36 against the Commanders, 24 against the Vikings, and 45 against the Seahawks, with both Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jameson Williams out for that game. In that game, he threw for 378 yards, 4 touchdowns, just to 1 INT. Of course, it was a pick 6, but it happens in football. You put up 45 points, your team should be able to win the football game. That is not on him. When you look at his career, I think so, on the top 20 all-time highest scoring games, he's participated in 3. Of course, this past game, the great Monday Night Football game between the Rams and the Chiefs, and then the Rams and the Bucks the year after they went to the Super Bowl. Everyone was thinking Detroit should select Malik Willis at 32 when they had that pick. Now, they traded up. They got Jameson Williams. When Jameson Williams comes up, it's going to make the offense much more explosive. He's playing at a high level right now, justifying his big contract, especially when you look at who was number 2 in his draft class, Carson Wentz, who has bounced around the league a lot fairly recently. He's Jared Goff is balling. You want to give him his flowers. Going to the other side of the ball, Geno Smith. Yeah, he ain't right back. I mean, a lot of people have written off. I wrote him off. But he's showing that he can be a starting quarterback in this league. And on his day, he is unstoppable. So well done to him as well. The last guys I want to shout out is the Indianapolis defense. Right now, I believe the Colts are 2-3, and they've never scored over 21 points in any game. My goodness, that's a lot of. You got to play at a very high level to accomplish that. So shout out to the defense. A bunch of great players. When they got Shaq Leonard back, they will be much more dangerous. It's just unfortunate their offense couldn't get the far.
Yep, that is the end of our first quarter.
The Team Nuts and Bolts Sports Store is officially open. Log on to www.teamnbsmerch.com and get your t-shirts, hoodies, polos, all sizes available. Once again, log on to teamnbsmerch.com. Get yours today.
Entering the second quarter. And we're going to take a quick look at some of the things that maybe you want to talk about. So we tried to, after the Nega Fest, then go positive. But guess what? It's time once again to break out your pitchforks, your spears, your whatever equipment you use to haze people, because we're talking about things that may have been a disappointment to you. Could be a particular team, a particular player. Some of you seem to have a thing for coaches, so maybe it'll be a coach. But yes, let's hear that. So I will start with I'll start with Steve Atkinson. Biggest disappointment from the week that was.
Biggest disappointment. I'm gonna go with Green Bay. You almost lost to a third-string quarterback at home while you have Aaron Rodgers. Then that shouldn't happen. You were supposed to wipe the floor with that Patriots defense. Instead, you kept him in the game. And the player I'm going to say is Isaiah Wynn. Around here, we call him Isaiah Lose. The guy can't block and always has guys pass on him. They had to get Marcus Cannon back from the practice squad to be in his place because Isaiah Wynn sucks so bad. Nice draft pick on the first round, Bill. Nice job.
Okay. Oh, that was fun. Okay, so let's see. You know what? I will put the Steve sandwich back together. Steve, what was your biggest disappointment from the week that was?
All right. I'm actually a fan of Russell Wilson, so it's kind of hard to figure this one out. But so far this year, Russell Wilson has not been cooking like Russell Wilson. I'm trying to give him sort of the benefit of the doubt that it's not all his fault, that it's mostly his Hackett or hackless coaching ability of the coach. That's more to blame for the inability for him to take off and be himself. And also maybe just acclimating to the Denver climate, change. I don't know. Maybe that the pressure changes too much for him out there. I'm not quite sure. I'm also going to reiterate the point of my fellow Steve. Yes, I'm actually going to point out both teams of Green Bay and New England at the same time as a disappointment. That entire game is a disappointment. Like you said, Green Bay was supposed to run away and dominate that game. Green Bay struggled to limp into overtime against a third-string quarterback. And everyone is convinced that somehow they're magically going to come back from the bottom of the division and still somehow win it and be a Super Bowl contender when they can't beat a 1-3 team that should barely be 1-3. They look like a 1-3 team. And who have they really beaten? Their best win is the Chicago Bears at home. They got 2 points on Tampa Bay, barely. Tampa Tom almost got that one back from them. Who else did they almost survive against? I mean, really, they're not that good, and everyone wants to keep pumping them up the power rankings above other teams that are ahead of them in the division, like my Vikings. See you later with that conversation.
Okay. And I like how we're getting a little bit of spice going. Okay, good. That brings me to my mellow, my man. We'll see if he is indeed mellow or if he decides to keep it sizzling.
Okay, I'm going to start off with Matt Stafford. I'm going to go to that game against San Fran. Matt Stafford, he did throw 254 yards. Let's just get that out the way. Yes, he did. However, what was it? 122 of those yards went to Cooper Kupp. So after you look at the distribution of the ball around that and the yards, it really wasn't much that we saw from Matt Stafford. He only had, he had one interception. However, it could have definitely been more interceptions than that. We saw the one interception taken to the house, So it was just one of those games to where, we have to give credit to Kyle Shanahan and that San Francisco defense, being properly prepared for Matt Stafford. They allowed Cooper Kupp to do him, but they pretty much took everyone else up about the game. So Matt Stafford was definitely a disappointment for it being a division game. And, we have to say it. The Rams haven't been looking like the Rams, to be the Super Bowl champs. The other disappointing player was Baker Mayfield. Baker threw for 197 yards. He had one TD, two interceptions, with a 61% completion percentage, and a 61 QBR. At this point, if Darnold, could stay healthy, the Panthers would probably still go with Sam Darnold. However, it seems that he can't stay healthy. So, they stuck with Baker Mayfield. They chose Baker Mayfield, so that's what they have to work with. But however, it's been a very disappointing turnout for him since he's been in Carolina. And then the other one is Pittsburgh, Mitch Trubisky. It's finally happened. I have to give Mike Tomlin credit for finally benching him. He didn't come back in the second half. And like I said earlier, when I spoke about George Pickens, Kenny Pickett came into the game and he gave our offense a spark. It was time for Mr. Trubisky to go. Like Brock said earlier, Matt Canada put those two together. I don't see much improvement from the offense if the offensive coordinator is still there and calling the same plays. Yes, we might get better decision making from Kenny Pickett. However, Mike Tomlin needs to move and part ways with Matt Canada as well. So those are my players that was disappointing for week 4.
And who better to discuss anything that is less than up to par than, once again, the babyface assassin, Brock Vieira.
Yeah, so a couple things I was disappointed with is the Buffalo's run game. They're literally a above average running back from being the most complete team in the NFL. But it's clear as day that when they're unable to pass the football, when the weather's not good or when it's raining and when the balls are slippery, they can't run the football. The only reason they're able to win in Baltimore is because the team had a complete collapse on offense, and also the defense kind of let up in the second half. They couldn't catch the football for nothing. Not Davis, not Diggs, no one. And when Josh Allen is your leading rusher, you know you have a big issue. Devin Singletary isn't and hasn't been up to par for a long time. Zach Moss is clearly an RB2, and James Cook is just not paying off. You don't go and you don't go and get one of the better free agent running backs. You don't go and get one of the better running backs in the NFL draft. You think that this is going to be sufficient, and it's clearly not. And when you get to playoff time, unless you're the number one team in the AFC, which is not a guarantee, there's got to be some big worries if you're a Buffalo Bills fan. Not only has Josh Allen never won a road playoff game, it's clear that if he isn't playing up to par, Buffalo has no chance. The reason why they were so good back in the day is because they had a guy like Thurman Thomas to rely on. When Jim Kelly and Andre Reed couldn't get together, they could always turn to Thermos and they would always get the job done. So Buffalo's run game is a major concern to me. The second major concern is Mike Tomlin. Nothing to take away from the man, but his assistant coaching selections since probably his second Super Bowl appearance has been questionable at best. Why he stuck with Todd Haley for so long is kind of beyond me. That offense could have been so much more dangerous with another dude. It's clear Matt Canada isn't working out. I don't understand these continued poor assistant coaching selections, especially for a guy that has so much talent and so much intelligence. I really would like to see him go out when he hires a new offense coordinator, assuming Matt Canada's out the door, to go out and get a guy like maybe a Pep Hamilton, maybe a guy that's offensively ahead of his time, and try and see if they could reinvent this offense with the talents of Kenny Pickett. The last team that disappoints me is the Denver Broncos. Oh man, I thought I suffered like 13 different health scares last night when I watched that game. I mean, my goodness, was that if you're a Broncos fan, you gotta just like sit back and think to yourself, is this it? Is this like as good as we get now? Not only did your field goal get blocked earlier, so you only have a 3-point lead, that prevented you from kicking the field goal again later on to create a 2-possession game. After that, you go for it on third down when you could run it and go to 2-minute warning, and your quarterback throws an interception. Like, it's just, you have a head coach that, honestly, like, real talk, I want to say something controversial. Nathaniel Hackett should be coach of the year. All right. And here's why. He has pulled 2 wins out of a situation that shouldn't have any wins at all. Maybe it wasn't that crazy for him to keep that field goal in Seattle, but McManus clearly had the leg, and clearly maybe Russ wasn't good enough to go to accomplish the 4th and 5 up there. Maybe maybe running the football doesn't work as well as he thought, because he went with Melvin Gordon up in Seattle and he fumbled. He went with Javonte Williams up in Seattle and he fumbled. Like, what can you say about Denver? They can't do anything right. No matter what they do, it just all goes awry, even when they play at their best. And they got for what they brought in on both sides of the ball and what they've been able to build for the past couple of years through the draft and through free agency. You gotta just sit here and just feel for Denver Broncos fans. I am so sorry for y'all. Y'all deserve better. And even though I'm a Chargers fan, I hope your team finds some competency sometime soon. Broncos country. Let's cry.
I don't know what's worse, the Denver team and organization going on whatever's going on there, or Detroit, who is leading the league in points scored and still only has one win on the entire year.
I gotta say Denver, because at least you got something that you can watch without wanting to.
Your team is averaging 35 points and you're losing.
Yeah, you know how much points Denver's averaging? Like 14.
When you're averaging 14, don't you kind of expect and assume you're going to lose averaging 14? You don't expect to lose averaging 35.
You also don't expect to lose.
The greatest show on turf averaged 35. They won a Super Bowl.
Absolutely. You also don't expect to lose when you trade 2 first-rounders, 2 second-rounders, you starting tight end, at the time you're starting quarterback, and a third-round pick for a dude, and then pay him $250-something million. You don't expect that quarterback on a designed rub play, on a designed natural hit, to not look KJ Hamler's way. Like, you know what, Russell Wilson? Like, I remember when I played Madden back in the day when I was first starting, I would play the Chargers, and I would just press one button, and it was like if you were Eric Parker, the ball was coming your way, and Parker wasn't working. Vincent Jackson did not matter what coverages you had. Doesn't matter, because I couldn't understand that at the time because I was an 8-year-old. All right, I was just pressing a button. Russell Wilson's an NFL starting quarterback who's getting paid $200-something million, and he doesn't know to look the way of the rub man coverage. Like I'm, it's perplexing to say the least. Like Matt Ryan and Russell Wilson's interceptions looked like they were just warming up with their buddies. That's how lackadaisical their throws were. And it's one thing if you're Matt Ryan, who clearly is cooked, but Broncos is tied to Russ for the next 8 or 9 years. Like it's tough. That's all I gotta say.
Well, as much as I hate to end this segment, we do have to. So enjoy this fantastic message. Okay. The third quarter, we're 3/4 of our way through this amazing experience. So, strong work from everybody. After getting off to a very, very commanding lead, Brock Vieira at least has been pulled back into view, I guess, by some of the other members of the panel, and we'll see. We'll see if we can make a strong push and catch them at the tape. So, 2 good things I will tell you about last night's game. 1, it is over. And 2, I don't know how many of you know, but you may be able to actually file for damages as part of a class action lawsuit. Consult with your attorneys. So that obviously was one of the least enjoyable football experiences of, my life. And I've been watching football a very long time. I'm going to assume that it's the same for all of you as well. I'll start with Steve Rogers. Gun to your head, you have to choose for your favorite team, one of those 2 quarterbacks you saw in that game, to be your quarterback for your team for the foreseeable future. Thinking about that scenario, Which one of those two quarterbacks do you choose and why?
So my choices are Matt Ryan or Russell Wilson for at least 2 to 3 years.
For the foreseeable future, yes.
Yeah, I'm as bad as it's like, I'm gonna actually have to stick with Russell Wilson just on the age factor because he's not already 35, 37. He's 31. So there is a chance that maybe this is just a hiccup and he'll recover for a year or two, maybe. But Matt Ryan is done. He's cooked. I am not taking that for any amount of anything.
Okay. And I will go to my man. Same question for you. Gun to your head. One of those guys has to suit up for the Steelers at the quarterback position. Who do you choose?
I'm having trouble hearing you. It's kind of choppy. What's the question?
I was saying that gun to your head, you have to choose between the two quarterbacks you saw Thursday night, between Russell Carrington Wilson and Matthew Phillip. I think it's Phillip. I can't remember. I have to jump a bit. Ryan, which one of those guys are you choosing in that scenario to be your quarterback going forward?
Oh, between Matt Stafford and Russell Wilson. Great question. Man, right now, I guess it's like throw the coin up and heads it's Russell Wilson and tails it's Matt Stafford, right? However, both are Super Bowl champions. So I would probably take Russell Wilson for the simple fact that he's more mobile still at this point, more than Matthew Stafford is. Though I like Matthew Stafford's arm better than Russell Wilson's. Just as far as Russell can throw the ball. Matthew just better can it. I like his placement a little bit better. But Russ got a beautiful throw too. I believe his deep ball is beautiful. Probably better than Stafford's. But being that Russell, he's mobile, he can get up out the pocket. Even though he's taking a lot of hits himself in his career, I would take him going forward right now.
That was well said. Unfortunately, the question was Matthew Thomas Ryan was the quarterback that was playing against Russell Carrington Wilson in Thursday night's game. But at least I know now where you stand on. If ever I decide to do a question about those two quarterbacks, I know where you stand. I will assume before I move on, Mello, that you would have given the same answer if you had known I was talking about Matthew Thomas Ryan, not Matthew Stafford. I'll assume it's a yes. I will move on then. Steve Atkinson, same question.
So I'm also going to choose Russell Wilson over Matt Ryan, mainly because Russell Wilson's won a Super Bowl. And I know both quarterbacks have choked against the Patriots in Super Bowls. But if I had to choose one quarterback with a gun in my head, I would pick Russell Wilson. He's just a better quarterback, better playmaker. Could probably win you the big game if he really, really had the guys around him. And Matt Ryan sucks, and he just
Oh, all righty.
Well, everything in a Super Bowl.
Hold on, can I get a challenge? Can I get a challenge one time? I heard that time. So it's Matt Ryan and not Matt Stafford. It's real simple and quick and easy. It's Russell Wilson. There's no question about it.
So your answer is still the same. Moving back, okay, good. So that has now been established. Your challenge has been accepted. You now get to say Russell Wilson twice. And now that brings us to, let me see, Brock's on one left, right? Yes, okay. That brings us now to you, the babyface assassin himself, Brock Vieira.
You said gun to my head, right?
Yes.
Pull the trigger.
Yeah, I know.
I'm done.
No, a quick and painless death is not.
Yeah. A quick and painless death was a lot better than what I witnessed last night. But honestly, on the question, I'm gonna go with Matt Ryan, and here's why. Both of them suck physically. It's great. I remember on the third down when Matt Ryan was driving the team down the field, and I was like, is he gonna throw the game-winning touchdown? And you see the ball just leave his hand, and you're like, that's going 30 yards over the end zone. That thing cracked the clock on the back. It snapped it. All right, so you know both of them aren't physically, but I like the fact that you know what Matt Ryan doesn't do. Matt Ryan doesn't piss off his teammates. Matt Ryan doesn't change the play at the line. Matt Ryan doesn't have this fake phony persona that no one likes. I think Russell Wilson is a good dude. I think he has some very strong characteristics. However, for some reason, he's put on this like facade where like he's this really good dude and really Jesus loving dude and really like this is not who he is. The Russell Wilson we saw at Wisconsin, the Russell Wilson we saw at the early days in Seattle, that gritty, that fighter, that trying to always prove himself. That's the Russell Wilson we need to see, and that's not the Russell Wilson that's on the field right now. He's this floaty dude that makes all of his former teammates clearly dislike him. Richard Sherman's clowning him, Cam Chancellor's clowning him, Earl Thomas is clowning him, Sidney Rice is clowning him. When you leave a place and nobody misses you, something's wrong. That when Phillip Rivers left the Chargers, people missed him. When Ben left Pittsburgh, people missed him. When Brady left New England, people missed him. When Manning left Indianapolis, people missed him. Does anyone miss him in Seattle? I can't say they do. But I bet you talk to Julio Jones, you talk to Roddy White, you talk to Tony Gonzalez, all they have to say is great things when it comes to Matt Ryan. So when you have two quarterbacks that clearly cannot get it done off the field, I'm going to take a dude that can at least keep it together in the locker room. Clearly, Russell Wilson is not that dude. And when you think about it even further, did Russell Wilson change the play call last night? Were they supposed to run the ball more times than they should have? It's a big question mark for me that I need to wait for the answer to come. And when you look at who got done in the clutch, Matt Ryan did. Matt Ryan drove down the field and got the game time field goal. Matt Ryan got the field goal in overtime. Russell Wilson failed both times. Whenever Russell Wilson drops back and passes, you think that this is not going to end well. When you look at Russell, we always talk about Matt Ryan choking in the Super Bowl, but Matt Ryan's made 2 NFC Championship games. Matt Ryan put up 28 points in the Super Bowl, and it was more the play calling that truly let him down compared to him just choking himself. You look at Russell Wilson's recent career before Denver, they lost at home to an LA Rams team that started John Wolford. They lost to Dallas for like no particular reason. Yeah, you can blame Brian Schottenheimer for play calling, but they lost to Dallas for a Dallas team that wasn't good. They all they do is make the playoffs and lose. They go up to Green Bay and they lose. Like the only reason they wanted Philadelphia was because Carson Wentz had a concussion. Like it's just Russell Wilson has been disappointing for a long time in the post-Legion of Boom era, and it's time for us to start recognizing this dude is not a good football person on or off the field. At least Matt Ryan can somewhat keep it together long enough to produce a winning product.
That was interesting. Like you went out at one. I was like, is he just going to be contrarian? No, you actually touched on some things that are very cogent points. Okay, guys, Brock's building up a fairly commanding lead. I hope you are ready to really come strong with it. Okay, so moving into our next topic. We are truly at a point where, we are taking a look at least, something you think is going to happen, right? And I don't give extra points for the hottest takes, right? I give extra points for the best takes. So you don't get extra points for just saying something crazy. But I want you to call your shot. Think about something that you truly think can happen and will happen, and then tell me why you think it'll happen. I'll go to our captain, Steve Rogers. Our captain, pick something. Call for an upset, call for something, but call your shot.
All right. Calling my shot. I actually am going to get extra spicy with my calling my shot. I was going to go with the Cowboys over the Rams, but I'm actually kind of expecting that. It doesn't feel like an upset to me at this point with how poorly the Rams are performing. So I'm going to actually go and root for the upset of possibly the year. I'm going to root for the Saquon Barkley show in London to go ahead and beat the Packers. I don't know, maybe Aaron Rodgers gets jet lag or has some bad fish and chips and gets food poisoning before the game, whatever. I feel like Aaron Rodgers is due for a bad game, and Saquon Barkley is going to roast that defense, and Saquon Barkley is going to carry the Giants to victory, go to 4-1, and watch the Packers go to 3-2.
Okay. Now, obviously, I understand you have a vested interest in the Packers losing, but those were certainly the Giants are an underrated football team. I think people who haven't watched the Giants, unless they're New York Giants fans, there's some dudes on that team. So yes, I'll be interested to see. And it's a young team, and Brian Daboll is one of the best young coaches in the NFL. So I'm going to watch the team with a certain amount of interest. I watched that game with interest, especially to see if you were right. I'll go once again. I'll put the Steve sandwich back together. Steve Atkinson, same question. Call you.
So I'm gonna go with the Bengals over the Ravens, just because I think Joe Burrow is the next up and coming guy quarterback. Jamar Chase and him were tearing up the league last year, and I think that Bengals offense is young enough that they're gonna rip apart probably the Baltimore defense, and I predict the Bengals over the Ravens this week.
Okay. And once again, that's something I could see happening. The Ravens' once proud defense has been, I think, humbled would be a good way to put it. I will now go to my co-host on College Football Forecast, which you can see 7 a.m. if you're on the East Coast, 6 Central, 5 Mountain, and 4 if you are an insomniac Pacific time. But call your shot, young Mr. Vieira.
I agree with Steve that I was going to go Cowboys over the Rams and sparks a huge quarterback controversy, but I feel like that's not a great take. So I'm going to go with Bengals over the Ravens with a little twist. T. Higgins goes off and establishes himself as a true NFL wide receiver number 1. Therefore, he will be negotiating for a high contract come his contract time, which is in a couple of years. Because this is his 3rd year in the league. He's a 2nd-round draft pick. So after this year, he will be on his 4th and final year of his contract. Therefore, he will be entering negotiations. I don't think Cincinnati will give him that big contract, but I think this is a game where he shows the world that he is a true wide receiver number 1 and basically sets up his financial future as his playing career continues.
Okay, excellent. Well, I'm sure the Higgins family will be very pleased to hear about that. Max contract incoming. Watch out. And I will finish this segment with my Mellow My Man.
I have to stay with them. I've been going with them all year, and that's the Houston Texans and Lovie Smith. I believe this is the weekend that David Mills and that offense finally comes together. That's been the problem with Houston, that, the offense haven't been able to put up any points. Brandon Cooks looked like he lost his step. However, that defense has been flying. They've been looking good with like Jalen Pitch, Stingley. Those guys, they've been down there balling. I heard Brock say that, he wanted Guy Pep Hamilton to get a job. For me, wishing that Houston Texans offense could get going, get Pep up out of there. Lovey needs to get another OC in there, and maybe the Houston Texans will have at least 2 wins by now. So I'm going with the Houston Texans over the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Okay. I'm not going to make you guys wait long. Everybody did great work. But sometimes when you see, we're all witnesses, right? Sometimes you saw LeBron when he was 14 years old, playing in high school. Or you see, young Michael Jordan in a practice as a freshman at University of North Carolina, or, maybe you saw young Willie Mays, called up in 1954. He's, barely 18, or 19, barely 19 years old. You sometimes see in that youth, it's like, wow. I mean, sort of out of control, maybe a little wild, a little raw, but you can see greatness. And I'm not going to pretend otherwise. Brock brought it in a way today that was undeniable. Everybody did great work, but jeez, I mean, you would have had to have a truly Hall of Fame performance to have caught up to that great lead he got it early on. Everyone, you should all be proud of yourselves. But winning time, that moment of glory, bask in it, opulently one young Brock Vieira.
Well, thank you. And this show has been another great treat. It's been a pleasure to join you gentlemen and talk sports again. I didn't win because of my performance. I literally bribed Bill with some Subway earlier on today, so don't. so it's not on me. Literally, a $5 foot long is all it takes. So just Venmo him $5 and you will be on winning time next week. No, but seriously, I really appreciate the win. It's been a lot of fun. I know I talk about firing coaches a lot. I really mean it. I'm sorry. Like, you are put into a position of incredible power, of incredible influence, and you have the responsibility to the 53 men on your roster, to the assistant coaches on your staff, to perform. And these men are counting on you for their livelihoods. These players are jockeying for better contracts. These assistant coaches are jockeying for better jobs, stability. And unlike you, if you get fired and you got to move with your family, these guys will have to move their families anyway to get a promotion. And when you don't perform up to standard, you really need to reevaluate, are you the right man for this job? It takes a special person to be a head coach, and I wish these gentlemen the best in their opportunities. But when you're not performing to a level that is remotely close to acceptable, it's time for you to leave. And though I know I may be harsh, there is livelihoods on the line, and you have to be harsh when that happens. With that being said, all those coaches that I essentially fired, I wish them the best as they continue on in their coaching careers. I do hope they find success soon, and if not, well, there's always a commentating career around the corner. Just real quick, personally, my Uncle John, I just found out he passed away. He was one of our waiters at a restaurant called 3660 on the Rise out in Hawaii. Phenomenal restaurant. They just shut their doors, their dining doors. So congratulations to that restaurant for being open for 30 plus years. But Uncle John was more than a waiter. He was family. He was someone my parents and him would exchange gifts every time they met. They would exchange Christmas cards. He was a great influence on me. He showed great kindness. He loved hard. And I'm going to miss him. Just wanted to give a shout out to him real quick. And yeah, can't wait for next week.
And that ability to balance all that venom and all that, vitriol with that sweet, sweet coda and that incredibly sweet face is why he is our... So to all of you, you're all winners in my eyes. Obviously, he is the first amongst equals, but you're all, in some ways, guys that I see as winners. I enjoyed doing this tremendously. This is, I say it, but I mean it. It is one of the best things that happens to me every week, and I'm so happy I get to do this. And we'll do this again soon. But before you leave, watch this incredibly important message.
Nuts and Bolts Sports Draft Central will be live from the Reese's Senior Bowl in Mobile, Alabama. Our scouts Jeff Barnes and Bill Carroll will be on hand to break down the performances of the participants in this year's Reese's Senior Bowl. So make sure you tune in for all the coverage. As also, make sure you tune in to NFL Network on Saturday, February 5th, 2:30 Eastern, 1:30 Central.
I wish all of you an elite rest of this week. I hope that you never ever have to watch another football game like the one that you saw Thursday. And we are OUT out. See you all in, well, I guess in this case, less than a week.